My name is Donnell Davis, and this is another video via the Blue Room. A little over an hour ago, Furgeson didn't indict Officer Darren Wilson for the shooting death of Michael Brown. And I watched on CNN as he gave his address on the facts and why the grand jury came to their conclusion. And he looked really nervous, and he didn't even seem convinced himself whether or not the evidence really panned out with the witness testimony, which it seemed at the very least that Wilson should have been indicted for doing something wrong, especially given the fact that it feels that 16 shots fired would be considered a bit on the excessive side. And while the evidence is now up for many of us to review for ourselves, whether or not it was Michael Brown who initiated it, it definitely is clear to me that the escalation outside of the car was definitely unjustified. For him to shoot someone at that distance who is unarmed. Now, I can understand if the altercation never left the car and whatever happened there happened, and there would be a little apply for self-defense. Self-defense would be a little more which would be still just as reaching, but a lot more understandable than a great distance from his police cruiser or a truck, as I've come to know. I always thought it was a car, but that is beside the point. As I record this video, which we'll probably post tomorrow, we have very violent protests going on right now in Ferguson, with police using tear gas on people. And that's not, I didn't think that using tear gas on crowds would be the most effective approach given the verdict. That the excessive force that the community was already complaining about, and that is the prime example of such force. And it's showing through the violence that's escalating as the police use more aggressive equipment. Now, I'm no police officer, so to tell you what is the proper procedure to use to actually keep a crowd under control that has become violent, I couldn't tell you. So I'm not going to try to sit here and say that I'm an expert, but tear gas can be very deadly, especially if you don't know any of the medical history of the people you're shooting it at. And if your intent is simply just to get them to disperse, I'm sure that there has to be a much safer way to do that. Luckily that watch on CNN, as the reporters are constantly moving from place to place, trying to find a safe haven to broadcast out there, they reported that it's windy, so it's good. So that's the only plus side. But then again, that there was a lady who came up to one of those same CNN reporters saying that a lady passed out via a heart attack and the canister got shot right on her. That is setting a very bad example for what is to honor the memory of Michael Brown. And I want to actually congratulate the president on coming out and sharing the views. Now, most people would probably be like, well, he's the president, he should say something on something so volatile. But there's something I just want to call into question just right now. Because he recently passed that immigration bill, signed that executive order protecting the immigrants and such like that. This isn't necessarily aimed towards the president as it is towards the Congress in which we have now. We need actual leadership. It's got to start from the top. No matter what your views are in terms of what you think happens in the middle class, this is a prime example on really, really poor leadership in an area that is dying for it. And there's areas all over this country that are like that, that feel that the criminal justice system serves is very biased in whom it serves and whom it chooses to lock up. And communities of color definitely see the brunt of this. So for the Congress who wants to sit on and stop what Obama's trying to pass, this is a direct message to you. Running America isn't about stopping a president you just happen to disagree with. It's about serving the people. And if there's a time we need action, it has to start with the top. Once they see you start, and then it'll trickle, then it'll come down to where the states will react and the local communities react. But we need real leadership. It isn't just the president in Washington. It's representatives, senators, their aides. It's about time that, and America is struggling already with the lack of leadership. Now is the time that we need this. This is where the changes are going to have to start. People have been protesting and protesting for such a long time without seeing any sort of changes in the laws, the multiple victims, including Michael Brown, who has been a victim to either unarmed violence, being a victim to police excessive force from police, or people who want to go to the movies and getting shot up in schools and or church and such like that, with absolutely no move forward in any sort of laws that are happening. Set aside the differences, and it's time to get some real things done. Because what difference would it make for us to worry about foreign threats to America when America itself is being divided and taken apart and turning violently on one another? When is the shift going to be from worrying about what's happening in other countries and then actually see what's happening in their own backyards? How safe do each and any one of us really feel just walking out the door every day? And this is just being in America. How safe do we really feel on our own soil? Yeah, I mean, that is actually a question I think that's going to be better suited than what we are worrying about abroad on ISIS. Because while worrying about all the threats abroad, Russia, China, what's happening in Iraq with ISIS, and many threats we have abroad, we have so many domestic. We have ourselves being divided so deep, so far, with the instances like this, like the Michael Brown verdict, and not seeing no sort of justice for any wrongdoing for Americans, whether of color or anything. Whether of color, white, black, Asian, Hispanic. It's just right now, it's just no one feels safe. No one feels good about what they're seeing. There wasn't just all black people in that Furgeson crowd. I saw white people in there too. So it's not this is starting to become a lot less of a race thing and more of an issue between the community trusting local law enforcement or trusting in their government to do anything for them. And people are getting burnt out. Take this as a big warning on why it is that the silent majority does not vote. if you go out there and want your voice heard every day and you see no results, then it's destroying the morale in which we have and the faith that we have in our leaders to do anything. And if there's a time, if there's a wake-up call, this boy's death should be that wake-up call for all of us in America, for everybody. If you have, so say if you have children of your own, or if you have maybe the neighbor's kid that you watch and grown fond of, niece or nephew, or an adoptive child, and such like that. Think of Michael Brown's family and the loss they just suffered. And I want you all to go to your bedrooms or call your nearest relative and their children and realize that they are the future. And our president isn't anywhere fit to hand over an America this divided and this broken down. We need to, if you look at your child, maybe if they're sleeping now, or maybe they're at school, or maybe they're at an activity at a friend's house, connect with them. Take a chance to get close to them. And for those who really want to see better or have better for the future of our country, the future of us and our sustainability, look them in the eyes or let them know that you love them. And tomorrow it's time that we do something, do anything, make videos of our own, and we flood the internet and have our leaders make the law to where we truly can defend ourselves in situations without having lethal force be the only option for either side. Now, while it does come down to just the judgment on judgment on any given situation, we have to understand the problems that we have at hand. Racism does exist. Prejudice exists. Profiling exists. And it happens in all spectrums. And all of this is the root of hatred. Hating what we don't understand, hating the skin tone of one another, hating traits, cultures, anything. But you want to know something? Hate breeds only more hate, and hate destroys things, and hate has no race. It doesn't discriminate on anybody. Once it's in your heart, it's up to each and every one of us to dispel that in the most positive way possible. And this is for the majority of us, because not everybody is going to take a warning like that to heed. Not everybody is going to do that. But the thing is that for those of us who really want to see that change, now's the time to do that. So tell your fellow man, coworker, your spouse, and such like that, that once we're ready to do right and move forward, that we all do it together in a peaceful format. And for those who've already done your violence or had a protest, and for those in Ferguson who's protesting right now with the violence, I hope that the anger that you have now can be subsided and turned into something positive. But this definitely is a direct result of a leadership that is absent. This is America asking for our leaders, no matter whom they are, where you are, to be that and show and start leading in a way that inspires us, that shows us that being in America is still worth living. This is such a grand opportunity to be more than what we are, because that's what it's going to take now. The everyday in which we see is over. The new has to happen now. And normally I give 2 likes for making it to the end of the video, but for all of you, I just want you to think and pray, and for whatever, just be thankful. Thank you.